If I mention the title, The 100 Girlfriends That Really, 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 Really Love You, those of you who haven't ever heard of it probably would think that sounds like a cringe harem series. Who the hell would ever watch that? And honestly, I wouldn't blame you, because that's exactly what I thought when I first saw it too. And true to form, this show is nuclear grade retardation in the best of ways. The 100 Girlfriends is an almost satirical take on the usual harem romance anime titles, and one that follows the story of young Rentaro Ijo. By the time he's about to enter high school, he's confessed to and been rejected by 100 different girls. But this minor setback won't stop him from trying to find a partner to share his bottomless love with. So he goes to try and bribe God into giving him a girlfriend once he enters high school, only for God to actually show up and explain that he's accidentally given Rentaro 100 soulmates instead of one. Oh, and if he doesn't date them all, they'll live miserably for the rest of their lives or just straight up die. No pressure, buddy. And that right there is the core of the series. But the real question I have is whether you can find enough chores around the house for 100 women. I mean, you can only really eat so many sandwiches before you explode. But this is Rentaro we're talking about. He has the power of the Toon Force. And when it comes to the girls, there's nothing that can stop him. No rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor death, nor drug-fueled kiss zombies, nor your girlfriend's rich and powerful mother that you get with right in front of her.
Now you have it. You're amazing, my precious little boy.
I can't take this. It's too much. I can't.
Yes, yes, my love. Give it to me, Rentaro, baby. Come on. Give mommy all you've got.
It's a whole lot of me, hurry.
Good luck explaining that one away, non-headphone users. But seriously, the only words that I can find to describe this series are whack, retarded, and clown show. So if your tastes don't include shenanigans and tomfoolery, you probably won't like this show, because that's really what it thrives on. Because the premise includes a cast of over 100 characters, it doesn't have a whole lot of time to explore each character in depth like a normal romance would. You get some preliminary information, some added depth with their background and personal struggles that Rentaro has to help solve, but their characters don't really get a lot of nuanced attention like most romance protagonists would. The show does give you some backstory on the characters like Hakari, Kusuri, and Shizuka, but it doesn't give you their personalities in great detail. Sure, you learn that Kusuri is obsessed with chemistry and her antics drove all her fellow club members away, but her character doesn't get much depth outside her insane passion for drugs. You learn that Shizuka's inability to speak has put her on bad terms with her parents, but other than being the timid and quiet character, she doesn't see much else in the form of focused character development. And Hakari's family drama being the biggest event in the anime so far, she gets a lot more attention than the other characters, but it still pales in comparison to how nuanced a normal and more focused romance story would be. In the end, it kinda makes the characters seem like they take up lives as personified tropes. Shizuka is the quiet, cutesy type, the one who doesn't talk. Kusuri is the psycho quack scientist who makes miracle drugs that defy the rules of reality. Hakari is the pervert girl constantly slobbering over her boyfriend. Karne is the over-the-top caricature of a tsundere. And AI Nano is the robot-like kudere girl. The manga is like this too, and it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but this is where the whole series' direction and writing style really helps make it not boring. I never really found any of the characters to be bland or boring. And perhaps it was the way that they were utilized and how they all bounced off of each other that helped keep it fun. So I can't really complain about them. So yeah, this show focuses more overall on the comedic plight of Rentaro Ijo as he tries to juggle relationships with an ever-increasing number of girls, than on any sort of focused romance. If you're expecting to go into this show and get some deep, character-driven, moving, focused romance that thoroughly flushes out every character, then you're approaching this show in the entirely wrong way. Because the main part of it is the comedy. That being said, the girls in this series only being slightly better than personified tropes isn't actually an issue. Because the series is less about character development and more about hitting the haha funny button and just ditching reality altogether. I mean, that should have been evidenced by the synopsis of the plot, but it only further confirms the whole thing by how it treats itself. Regular fourth wall breaks, constant disregard for seriousness and reality itself at times, and the constant bantering back and forth about just about everything. This show just refuses to take itself seriously, and that's totally fine. In fact, that's the entire reason that this series even works in the first place. The humor and comedy is the glue that holds this whole thing together. So while the characters aren't the most spectacular pieces of work, they still end up being just fine because of the over-the-top and outrageous elements at play. From fighting local delinquents over a bouquet of flowers, to drug-induced kiss crazes, and all the way around to Mission Impossible level peeping on your boyfriend. The series is willing to throw out the conventional sense of normalcy and just do whatever the hell it feels like. Its absurdity is the reason it becomes so much fun, much the same way a Florida Man story is so entertaining. You never quite know what might happen next. And the more and more absurd it gets, the harder it is to not just sit there and laugh and wonder who thought of this. And that is how it gets around its cast problem, especially when you have an ever-increasing number of cast members to deal with. By ratcheting up the insanity, you're less prone to think about how unrealistic or simple the portrayal of every character is. You're less likely to focus on how shallow they actually are. Added bonus is that it's funny. And that's the true beauty of the 100 Girlfriends. The glorious circus that ensues once you've fully embraced the cringe. The wild premise, the insane shenanigans that everyone gets up to, the banter and commentary about every unrealistic and insane thing that happens, it's all just fun to me. It reminds me a lot of Konosuba and Nichijou in that sense. The key difference is that those have smaller casts, making it far easier to focus in on their characters. But the clown show absurdity of all three is one of the significant features nonetheless, and that's what I'm pointing to. The 100 Girlfriends is ultimately a mockery of the tropes it employs and the genre it falls into. It takes things to such absurd levels at times that it's hard not to see it as making fun of the very thing that it is, a harem romance story. And to that point, I really do think it does that well. It took the stereotypical, boring, flavorless harem story and decided it was just going to go fully unhinged. All things considered, this show isn't some work of art. It's a turn your brain off and enjoy the chaos kind of entertainment, and I'm perfectly fine with that. It may not be your taste in fiction, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, which is why I generally hesitate to recommend this series to people. It really is for those of us with rather special tastes. I myself would say it's a pretty niche kind of show that focuses mostly on its gags and leaves the deeper, more character-driven storytelling moments a bit underdeveloped and unsupported. But those two things were never why I tuned into this to begin with. I tuned in to see just how insane the manga and anime would be. And I wasn't disappointed. It was funny, and brave enough to just do its own thing without fear of trying to keep a serious romantic story going. It's just dumb humor and things that would normally come off as incredibly cringe if it had tried to take itself seriously. Suffice it to say that it's still a very entertaining show to me, regardless of all its writing flaws, so to speak. I like watching it because it's unapologetically unhinged. So I give this series an 8 out of 10. It's more to my taste in comedy and humor. It takes what is, in my opinion, one of the worst genres, the harem romance genre, and turns it into something that's actually entertaining. And best of all, it just loves to have fun. The more I read and watch this series, the more insane it gets. Screw the lack of depth and terribly moving scenes and just hit the haha funny button as much as you freaking can. Because outside of the standard empathy you would feel for someone in trouble, there isn't much there to invest emotionally in. The issues it suffers in that department are almost entirely by design, it seems, since the series can't waste too much time delving into each and every character. So in the end, I just laugh at it. I never thought I would have so much fun reading something so absolutely dumb. That's all there is to it. But that's enough out of me. If you liked this video, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons, because those simple but free actions do really help me. And if you have some thoughts to share, leave them down in the comments. Thanks for checking out the video, and I hope you tune in for the next one. Later.